Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan Lugo. Thanks so much for tuning in here on Thursday, February 29th. The NFL Scouting Combine on-field work does kick off this afternoon. Fired up for that. We've been covering the Combine all week, and we've been talking about the draft for a lot longer than that. But right now, we're going to take a little bit of a moment to kind of look at some players that are already on the Jaguars, some situations that are already happening in Jacksonville. There's going to be plenty of time to cover the rest of the draft. Obviously, free agency is coming in hot and heavy. The franchise tag window is open right now. We're going to see what happens with Josh Allen. We're going to see what happens with Calvin Ridley. A lot of things going on there. But I wanted to look at Trent Baalke mentioned yesterday. The Jaguars have begun discussions with Trevor Lawrence on a contract extension. Wanted to talk about that. Wanted to talk about keeping your own players that you drafted, homegrown guys, and then also Doug Peterson being asked about offensive play calling, kind of how I see that situation. So we're going to dive into that stuff. If you enjoy the content here, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You can also check out genjag.com/shop, pick up some new Duval gear. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. So again, Trent Baalke, he told the media yesterday, or 2 days ago, I should say, that the Jaguars have begun discussions with Trevor Lawrence on a new deal. Now, Trevor Lawrence is going into his fourth year as a pro. As a first-round pick, the Jaguars also have the fifth-year option. So technically, they have him under control contract-wise through the 2025 season, right? As long as they pick up that fifth-year option, which I'm sure they will, assuming they don't get a deal done prior to, I believe it is May 1st, May 2nd, when that deadline is to apply the fifth-year option. So I'm excited about hearing this. I think that getting your best players under contract early is the way that most good teams do business, right? And you don't have to do it with every single player, but when you have a player you value, a player that you drafted, a player that plays a premium position, a guy that you know you want around here for a long time, a face of the franchise type of player like Trevor Lawrence is, that's huge. And so maybe Trent Baalke's turning a corner here because you have seen players that the Jaguars have drafted, not players that Trent Baalke has drafted, because 2021 is his first draft class, right? Trevor Lawrence's class is his first draft class. But you've seen players that the Jaguars have drafted, homegrown talents, walk out the door. You've seen them not get offers early or not get good offers early from the football team, from past regimes, right? So maybe the Jaguars, maybe Trent Baalke, maybe they're turning a corner when it comes to when you draft a good football player, you keep him here. You keep them happy. You make sure that they want to be here, and you make sure that you lock them up long term. And the earlier you do that, the better. But yes, for me, Trevor Lawrence, get that deal done early. It will be somewhere in the $50 million plus range, right? I know that number is kind of eye-popping. I know for some people that might be some sticker shock. But when you go to extend him, I know that number might sound big now, but in a couple years, that's going to look like a steal. That's the nature of contracts in the NFL, especially at the quarterback position. The next guy is the highest paid guy at quarterback when it comes to top 10 type quarterbacks in the league. And yes, Trevor Lawrence is that dude. He is. The tape says it. The wins that the Jaguars have put on tape say it, right? Like in most of these wins that the Jaguars have had over the last 2 years, Trevor Lawrence is one of the biggest reasons, if not the biggest reason for a lot of those wins. The advanced numbers say it. The gutsiness, the toughness to play through injury down the stretch, even though he probably should have been on the bench in some of those weeks. He needs to improve, not fumble the ball as much, not try to play as much hero ball in certain situations. But I think he was forced into doing that by the supporting cast, by some of the coaching. He's your franchise quarterback. He wants to be here. Your guys around him have got to be better. The coaching has to be better. The offensive play calling and game planning has to be better. I say you extend him this offseason. After you kind of get through the first wave of free agency, you can start really ramping up and seeing where you're at from a cap standpoint and focusing on that. Obviously, right now, yes, you got preliminary discussions going on with this contract, but you need to focus a little bit on free agency, on guys that are immediate needs of getting their contract squared away or figuring out what you're going to do there, with cap cuts, with Josh Allen, Calvin Ridley, some other players, with incoming free agents potentially. So getting Trevor Lawrence's deal done at this moment is not the most important thing. But I do think getting it done this offseason is a big deal. And it would go to show that the Jaguars mean business, that the Jaguars are a real franchise. And look, NFLPA report cards, they just came out. The Jaguars, they weren't perfect, but they were fifth overall. And I think they were in the lower 20s the year before. So you see a new facility come in. You see a little bit of, a little bit of improvements in certain regards in other ways as well. And I think you now have an organization that you can start to look at as a serious operation. And I think that's a big deal. Making sure that you get your big time players done early in terms of the contracts, that's another step in the right direction. Another step that would show agents, players, and everyone around the league that you really do mean business. And so Trevor Lawrence, you extend him. I think you also extend some other guys from that 2021 draft class. That was an excellent class, and it should be. The Jaguars had a ton of picks, and they also had the first pick in every round, right? So you should have the ability to go out there and land a big-time draft class if you're Trent Baalke in that year in 2021. But Tyson Campbell, you drafted him at the top of the second round. He was battling through injury last year. When he has been fully healthy, he has been one of the best young corners in the game, and he is still very young. You could extend him before his fourth season. And as a second round pick, 2024 is the final year of his deal. I think he has shown the work ethic, the skill on the field, the leadership. I think he's shown you everything that he can. I think Tyson Campbell is the type of player you extend early. I think Andre Cisco, same thing. When he was fully healthy in 2023, and even looking at 2022, his first year starting, I think Andre Cisco is a ball hawk. Love it. I'd say extend him too. Walker Little, yeah, when he's been on the field, he's been very good for you, and he hasn't been a full-time starter, so maybe you get a discount with Walker Little. Travis Etienne, he also has the fifth-year option. You can't overpay at running back, right? But all these 2021 guys that are good, I think you hit on them in the draft. Now you keep them around. Get it done early. You get a discount when you get it done early. That's how it works. When these guys are ready to hit the market, then it's full price, but you get it done early and you get a little bit of a discount. Tyson Campbell, again, is a bona fide starting outside corner. Regardless of what you think about happened last year, he was injured. He was trying to play through injury. Andre Cisco, a ball hawking safety, can get it done with the best of them when fully healthy, can also absolutely lay the wood. Like, this is a guy that can be an enforcer for your defense and also pick the ball off at a high clip, get a lot of pass breakups. Walker Little, in my opinion, has proven he's a starting caliber tackle who can take over this year, which it doesn't look like it's going to happen because Cam Robinson, it looks like, is staying around. Trent Baalke kind of poo-pooed the idea of him moving on in any way. But look, I do believe Walker Little is a starting caliber tackle in this league. Again, when he struggled last year, it was because he was battling through injury. He can take over when Cam's contract is up, whenever that may be. If they decide to move on this offseason, which it doesn't look like it, or the following year, right? I think he is that type of player. So you get his deal done early. Again, all of these guys are going into contract years in 2024, except potentially Travis Etienne, who has the fifth-year option. But Etienne, he's one of the most explosive runners in the game today. Like, he's a guy that can change the anatomy of a football game with one run. And there's just not that many guys out there that are like that. He's also a guy that's proven he's tough. He's taken a beating. He has, been a guy that you can give the football to a lot. He can hold up. And you're not throwing the current contracts, the rookie deals, out the window. You're not throwing them in the garbage. So you're not impacting the 2024 cap negatively. You're impacting down the road, but you're saving down the road by getting it done early. Are these players you would want to bring back later on? Then go ahead and get it done early, in my opinion, right? You could say, well, it's risky because you're committing to these guys and you don't really know who they are. Look, I've seen Tyson Campbell on the practice field. I've seen him work the last 3 years. Same thing with Andre Cisco. Same thing with Travis Etienne. Same thing with Walker Little. I think we do know who they are. We've seen enough to say these players deserve contract extensions and that they're going to deserve contract extensions following the 2024 season. Yes, there's always the risk of major injury or something like that, but I don't think you play scared. Like scared money doesn't make money, right? I think that you have got to be confident in the players you selected that have shown you that you should be confident in them. And all these guys are that way, in my opinion. And again, you're not impacting the 2024 cap. You're not reducing your ability to get things done this year. You're just getting them signed on long term. And now you can use the 5th year option, like I mentioned, for Trevor Lawrence or Travis Etienne. But that, again, doesn't mean you can't extend them after the 5th year option. You can use this 4th year and 5th year and then have the extension start after the 5th year option, right? So I say keep a nucleus of talented young players that you drafted in Jacksonville. That is something the Jaguars have struggled so greatly to do over the past, 15 years ish. That's how good teams do business. That's how the Jaguars should do business. Again, the NFLPA report came out really positive for the Jaguars overall. Now you start inking some of your homegrown talents to contracts. You're starting to look like a real football operation in Jacksonville. And talking about a real football operation, Doug Peterson, he's your head coach, and I think he is still one of the best play callers in the league. He was asked about offensive play calling. Brent Martineau did a great job framing the question, not really insulting Press Taylor, instead kind of talking about how Doug Peterson is one of the best play callers in football. When he has been a play caller, he has done some amazing things. Does he potentially need to become the play caller once again to give this team the best chance to win? And Doug Peterson said straight up, yeah, we're thinking about it. Me and Press are going to figure this out. We're still deciding that. Haven't decided on anything official yet. But yeah, they're thinking about it. And I think he should take over the play calling duties to a certain extent again, at least in key situations, maybe full time, whatever it may be. I think he needs to be more hands on with the play calling on game day. He tried to take a bigger picture view this year, and he did like a lot of the things that offered him as a head coach. The bird's eye view a little bit he talked about. But before 2023, he was as good as anyone in the league for the most part at play calling on offense. I mean, maybe you have a couple guys ahead of him in the pecking order, but he is right up there. He's one of the best. So I think he would still instill more confidence in his team, in his quarterback, if he was doing more of the play calling again, more hands-on without play calling duties. And again, that doesn't mean Press Taylor doesn't call any plays. Press Taylor called games in the second half of the 2022 season, right? I think that Doug Peterson, though, again, needs to be more hands-on with the offensive play calling, with the offensive flow throughout games in 2024. And whatever you decide with Press Taylor, you decide it now. You're going into this offseason here. You stick with it throughout the year. Press will still call some plays like he did in 2022, but I think Doug Peterson has got to be more hands-on with that offense. I think that that's where they're going to end up landing. I think he's going to be more hands-on, call more plays in 2024, and I think that it's going to instill more confidence in the guys on the offensive and defensive side of the ball just because they know what Doug Peterson can do. I think it's going to instill more confidence in the entire building, quite frankly, because, again, Press Taylor, I don't think he did the best job handling situations in 2023, but I also don't think he was given a real good opportunity when you talk about the interior of the offensive line just absolutely cratering, and the catalyst for that being Luke Fortner. You talk about the injuries on the left side of that offensive line, zero continuity. You talk about Christian Kirk getting injured. You talk about receivers not being in the right place, receivers dropping the football. Trevor Lawrence sustaining all the injuries he dealt with. I don't think Press Taylor was necessarily given the tools that Doug Peterson was the year before, but at the same time, I don't think he necessarily handled everything that was thrown at him perfectly, which very difficult to do. At some point, you're just kind of banging your head against the wall, trying to figure out something that works. But I do think that they turned to the screen game and some of that stuff way, way too much, way too predictable, and it did not work. And I think that you needed to pivot away from that. I think Doug Peterson getting this thing back on the right track. Doug Peterson's going to be more of a offensive game planner, offensive play caller, and a guy who has his hands in everything on every offensive play call. Whether he's calling all the plays, calling some of the plays, Doug Peterson's got to be more involved. But that'll do it here for this show. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. Just wanted to get my thoughts off on some of these contract extensions coming up down the road. Obviously, you want to keep Josh Allen and Calvin Ridley as well. But again, these guys that you're trying to extend in from this 2021 draft class, it's not impacting 2024. It's impacting the future, and I think it's going to impact the future in a positive way from a cap standpoint and from an on-field standpoint. So get the job done, I think, if you're Trent Baalke. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content here, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You can also check out ginjag.com/shop, pick up some new Duval gear. Y'all have a good one.